people look at a lot of these things and go, well, look, what on earth is responsible for this like yo-yo in price action? Like, there's nothing in available data that seems to suggest why, aside from some really like esoteric, like strange, like financial instruments that people are drawing like things between. So, for example, there was a lot of suggestion that failure to delivers can be sort of erased using deep out the money puts and some sort of other options contract to like swap something in. There's been suggestions that like ETFs can be used, things like XRT that had like a massive portion of GameStop shares in it, which at one point was shorted like 5,000%, like something obscene like that. Um, and then I've got a whole other list of things I could list off, like things like the self-regulatory nature of the DTCC, payment for order flow, the way high frequency traders can sort of access the market faster in order to like scrape money off of trades. Um, Even back to like synthetic CDOs in 2008 actually being a real product that people bought, just like derivative contracts made up of derivative contracts. So, do you like, to what extent do you think, I know this is a long question, to what extent do you think like there is the market is like a fair and free market? Because it looks to a lot of people who first became exposed to the world of finance through the GameStop saga, like there is an awful lot of rigging going on in the market. So like, do you think that's a fair statement, or do you sort of disagree with that?
Um, I mean, certainly we know weird things happen, things that shouldn't happen. Look, I would never sit here and say it's like perfectly clean, right? Like, I tend to think more of the dirty things happen, like not in the actual trades themselves. Like, it happens in other places, like through the IPO process and things with warrants and like I don't know. That's where I usually think most of the corruption and weird stuff is happening. But in the actual like day to day trading on an exchange, like I don't know. Like I'm sure that, like there's definitely like it's not perfect. I'm totally aware of that, but I don't think that's usually the place to look. Um, but I mean, who knows?
Fair enough. Um, so I guess the next question I would have would be based on that.
Well, I mean, I guess the other thing to say is like just citing that GameStop example. Like it's very clear that after that, you know, fall run up, it became divorced from the fundamentals, right? Like there was a certain like forget the short interest for a little bit, right? Like just where the price was going, I think in fall, early winter of 19 into 20, like there's a certain point there I think anyone can look and say, like, look, this obviously wasn't trading on the fundamentals anymore. Like it more than surpassed what it should have traded on fundamentals. Um, and obviously there was obviously tons of short interest. That will explain at least one of the run-ups. The other one's like, I don't know, like the most logical explanation to me just keeps being like, this was a stock that was talked about. There was this, you know, there was this community, whatever you want to call it, around it. There was this herding behavior that it would run up again and drop, run up again and drop. And certainly like, well, the stopping the buy button thing was ridiculous. Like I think everyone, I don't know anyone who doesn't agree with how absolutely ridiculous that was. Um, but but like it seems like there's an explanation, or at least gets you like most of the way there, just in understanding like it was just crazy. Like we've never seen anything like this. It was divorced from the fundamentals anyway. Like no one really cared how high the price was going. Like people were saying diamond hands don't sell. Like these are not normal things. So to see not normal behavior, like totally not normal behavior, like people saying that they're not going to take a profit at any level that was even remotely plausible, or maybe not plausible, but like defensible from a traditional fundamental standpoint. Um, that's a setup to get crazy things happening. Like that seems more logical to me than there's a million different nefarious things. But I mean, I don't know. Like, look, there could have been. Like, there could have been. I have no idea. But the naked short selling thing would have been. I don't know. I mean, like, I keep thinking in the GameStop instance, like I said, if there was a place where the setup was perfect for it to happen, but with the borrow rate being so incredibly high, like that's the perfect instance for naked short selling because you're trying to get around having to pay the borrow. But you know, we can we can complain a lot about the way Congress and regulators handled the situation, but the fact is they did haul these guys out in front and put them on trial essentially in front of the public. And it seemed like they were eager to do something. There was certainly a political will to do something. Like, if you watch those hearings, like members of Congress were like chomping at the bit to like get a part of get a piece of these guys. So if there was evidence of naked short selling then, and you would think FINRA or the SEC, DTCC would have had some sort of proof. That was the time to go after it to do something, right? Like that's the one thing I don't get. Like they were in the crosshairs. There's no doubt about that. Vlad especially was in the crosshairs. But Ken Griffin certainly got dragged up there. Like if there was a time to go after them, if there was a political will to do it, you would think that would be it. So, in one sense, I'm saying that as like evidence for my kind of perspective. But I understand why people look and they say, well, if they wouldn't do it then, they're never going to do it. So like I totally, kind of shooting my own evidence in the foot a little bit there, but I get it.
Hey everyone, thanks for making it right the way to the end of the podcast. I love that you tuned in this long. Do me a favor, hit subscribe because 80% of you bastards are not subscribing, but you're watching my videos. See you next time.